Our Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 show continues with Ashton Forbes. Ashton, so we've gotten to what exactly you think did happen. This plane was essentially disappeared or teleported somewhere. Where did this plane end up?
Yeah,
do you think?
mean, if we love the technology, and it's what we'd like to know, believe that it exists, and it's not alien technology, it's ours, and that's great and everything, but
where is the plane?
Yeah,
where's the plane? Yeah, no, great question, guys. And I think that the plane most likely location is Diego Garcia military base. That same base that I talked about that had the over-the-horizon radar that can see thousands of miles. Middle of the Indian Ocean, secluded. You might even be able to test some secret orbs out there. Nobody would ever know. You can't land commercial aircraft out there. There's circumstantial evidence that points to that location. If this plane got warped, it didn't get warped to the moon or another galaxy because those phones are ringing. So if we look at the direction of travel of the plane, it's flying east based on the coordinates that we see in the satellite video that I mentioned earlier. And we see it getting sucked backwards in the thermal video a little bit, right when that zap goes off, that dark event and endothermic event. So we can speculate that it got pulled to the west. And if it got pulled to the west, that puts it over near the Maldives. Now, interesting note is that there was a B777 fire suppression device that washes up in the Maldives. And it was reported on as a bomb, but it's actually just a B777 fire suppression device. The only way this could wash ashore is if it was empty. Again, goes back to the idea of the fire event, and that these fire suppression devices were being deployed to put out the fire. There were 20 islanders on a small island just north of Diego Garcia that saw the plane in the early morning hours. A guy named Sergio went out there and interviewed them. They seemed very credible. They saw the blue and red stripe of Malaysian Airlines. They saw it flying so low they could make out the windows on the plane. These guys don't see, these islanders don't see jumbo jets fly overhead. And they saw it flying where? South towards Diego Garcia military base. Wow. In addition to that, Diego Garcia military base is a known CIA black site. We would potentially transfer or house prisoners there when we had the war in Iraq and Syria going on. This came out through FOIA requests that are out there available. And then there was a picture that gets posted on 4chan, which is a social media site. I don't give it too much credit, but it supposedly was from Philip Wood, the only adult American passenger on board the plane, saying that he was drugged, held prisoner in a dark area, and that he couldn't think clearly, and that he was potentially separated from other passengers. The black picture that he posts, people looked at the EXIF data, which is the metadata of the picture. It has coordinates that indicate Diego Garcia. So if you look at that data and just think logically about where you would hide the plane, this plane didn't go to Russia. Russia didn't do this. China didn't do this. They're the ones trying to figure out what's going on, hacking Malaysia. This was us. We did this. We hid it in our advanced military base in the middle of the Indian Ocean, which is the perfect place to hide it where no one's going to find it.
So
and then you rip it apart. And remember that debris we talked about? Well, the debris can't get from this supposed crash site off the coast of Australia to Africa. But do you know where it can get to Africa from? Diego Garcia military base. You rip the plane apart, which is like halfway to Africa, rip the plane apart, throw a couple pieces in the ocean. Where are they going to drift? They're going to show up in the Reunion Island. They're going to show up in Africa over there. So this is, that's where I think the plane went. There's other conspiracy theories that argue that's where the plane went, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
What about the people? Where would the 239 passengers be?
So here's another interesting fact. I started digging into the science, and I found out that turns out you guys have seen all the stuff going on with Boeing. Nobody really trusts Boeing construction. Well, there was a comment on an old article that we found that was supposedly a whistleblower, somebody who was contracted with Boeing, that tells a story that they faked the toxic fume analysis of some of the plastics on the plane, and that if that stuff lit on fire, everybody would die from toxic fume exposure. So not only do you have lithium-ion batteries spewing smoke on board this plane, you have the plane depressurized where the pilot's flying low to try to give people enough oxygen to breathe. But the Boeing parts might actually be toxic and killing people as well. So as sad as it is to say, I don't know if I don't think everybody was alive even when we see the zap happen. And I think that if you believe that you can remote control an aircraft, which if you can warp an aircraft, absolutely you can remote control one, then I think it's very unlikely many people survived. And I can't know for sure, of course, so I don't want to give any false hope to the families. But that picture, that Philip Wood picture, would give some hope that some people may have survived. Now, what do you do with people if you've got them and you've got them prisoner? You make them sign NDAs; they can never speak. You probably put them into witness protection, give them new identities, and say they're never going to see their loved ones ever again. It's hard to imagine, but that's what I think you would possibly do. And most of the people on board the plane were Chinese, like I think something like 70%. So if you give the people back to China quietly, China's going to make sure they never talk ever again. So that's the true fate, I think, of what happened to the plane. And, this story is probably hard for a lot of people to believe, but it's an overwhelming amount of evidence. And whether or not you believe it or not, I want to thank you guys in the audience for listening to it, because I think that this story uses more evidence than anybody else's story to date about MH370 by magnitudes. Like the only thing we have to throw out is those satellite pings after 1840 UTC in the Nicobar Islands, which, we didn't find anything in the South Indian Ocean. Until we do, I think that whether or not you think this is real or not, everybody should be able to agree that we should get a statement from the U.S. government. The U.S. government knows more about what happened to this. If these videos are fake, they should be able to speak on it. And if they're real, they got to say no comment probably on it.
Yeah, so they have not disclaimed this video at all. They've just ignored it.
No, they've ignored it. I FOIA'd the Edward C. Lynn case to the NCIS and the FBI. Both of them rejected it. The NCIS rejected it under that Obama-era exemption I was talking about, to be kept secret in the interest of national defense or foreign policy. And I actually reported to the AARO, which is this all-domain anomaly resolution office. They're like the UFO investigators. The UFO community hates these people because they came out and said the extraterrestrials don't exist. And I'm sitting there just laughing because, I don't care. I'm saying this is our technology. So I reported to them, and I got a response back saying that initial investigation into the plane revealed United States surveillance after the plane went dark. And I'm going, whoa, that's huge. They didn't come back and say, this is fake, ignore this or anything. They came back, and because I gave them verifiable information, I said, we've got an MQ-1C watching the plane in the Nicobar Islands. We've got our SBIRS system. There's satellite video of this plane. And I gave them Edward C. Lynn as well. So go find out what information is available on the internet that Edward C. Lynn leaked that was so scary that we had to make him sign a plea deal and hide it and never talk about it. It's those videos. And if they confirm any of that, it's absolute proof the videos are real. So it makes me wonder if I didn't red pill one of these AARO guys where they thought it was all fake, and then they look into it and they're like, oh crap, this guy's real. This is scary.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we'll see. I hope that the AARO does the right thing. But you can imagine the liability of what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
Potentially billions of dollars of liability, criminal charges potentially. Especially if those people died and they weren't just put in witness protection.
Yeah.
So the magnitude of what we're dealing with here is huge, absolutely beyond comprehension.